walk together. And so if I'm going to live by the Spirit, then I got to keep up. I can't get ahead. Can't get behind. Got to keep in step with the Spirit. Remember those days when you're trying to teach a little kid how to walk? And you get them over to this one side of the room, you have them like this. And you would walk with them. And they would go like this, right? And they would stumble like that. And you always were dragging them along, right? And then you drag them along, and then all of a sudden one day, what do? They let go. And now they want to try to walk on their own. We all have the same fear. You're going to break your nose. Because we know they're going to fall. That's just part of the gig, right? We know they're going to fall. See, the difference between us and God is God drags us along spiritually like this, and He's holding our hands, right? And He pulls us along, and all of a sudden we get enough confidence. And it's not that God lets go of us. It's that, it's not that we let go of God. God lets go of us. And He goes, okay, now you walk by yourself. We'll see how well you do. Go ahead. Go ahead, try it. Go ahead. Because He wants us to hold on to Him. But He'll let go of us so that we can all of a sudden find out where we're weak. Where we can't walk without Him. When Thomas was little, Thomas had one speed. Fast. It was either fast or stop. That was it. And when Thomas was learning to walk, there was no walking. It was running. It was all running. And we had one step in our house. We lived at Grace Road. We had one step that went from the kitchen down to the family room. It went from linoleum to carpet. You see where this is going, right? And he's hightailing it for the family room, and I remember saying, you better sit down. Face first, face plant right into the carpet. Rug burn right up the side of his face. And what did I say? Told you. That's what I thought. Because that's what dads do. Because we love you. A couple of days later, Thomas is booking through the kitchen. You know what he did that time? Sat down. He was fine, but he had to learn his lesson. And that's the hardest part about parenting, is to let go. Okay? What do they say? You spend years trying to teach them how to walk and talk, and then 15 years teaching them how to sit down and shut up. You know, that's the idea. I remember one time seeing a card that when your child takes the first step, that's their first step away from you. Because that's the process. The process is they're going to grow up and they're going to be on their own. Same thing with God. God walks along with us for a while, and then He lets go so that we can find out where we need Him most. And when we fall and get the rug burn over and over and over again, don't you think God's up there going, told you. Come on, how many times? Told you. All you got to do is ask for help. That's all you got to do. You got to get some help. And see, the part that's so hard for us is that we don't always want to just help God. We'll be happy to talk to God about help, but it's hard to go find somebody else. Paul wrote these words in Corinthians. He says, I have chosen to make myself a slave. To make myself be a slave to anyone and everyone. Why? So that I might win as many as possible. I don't know how to tell you this, but if you will confess your need, whatever it is, Pastor Tom, I need help with my finances. I need help with my diet. I need help with my relationships. I need help with my tongue. I need help with substance. I need help with the internet. I need help with gambling. I don't care what it is. Admitting it is the first step to getting healthy. Admitting you can't do it by yourself. Because we have people that can help you. It's a great verse from Ephesians. Submit yourselves one to another out of reverence for Christ. Do anybody know what verse is right here? Verse 22. Anybody know? This is where the Bible goes. We've taken the Bible. You know, the Bible, these were written as letters. They didn't have chapters. They didn't have verses. They didn't have paragraphs. We had people who did all that. The heading right here in the NIV Bible is husbands and wives. And then it goes into husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, wives, submit yourselves to your husband. Which is every man's favorite Bible verse, right? The problem is the heading for husbands and wives should be up here. Right there. Because if it was, then this would become the framework for all of it. Submit yourselves to one another. And that's for everybody. That's not just for husbands and wives. That's for everybody. See, this is why I think you could take two people never met, planned arranged marriage. They could get married. They could live together happily if they would just submit themselves one to another out of reverence for Christ. Okay? Submission, what was it we said last week? It was the will or the choice to defer. It was the choice to live in compromise and to live in peace. Submit yourselves one to another. So I have chosen to become a slave, chosen to submit to your needs. Why? So that I might see somebody come to know Christ, to win as many as possible, is what Paul said. Submission is a choice. Being a slave is being dominated. And God allows us to submit. To submit to authority, to submit to structure, to submit to relationships, to submit to Him, to defer, to comply, to cooperate. Pastor Tom, you don't understand, I'm hopelessly enslaved to something. I'm here to tell you, you can say no to the bottle, you can say no to the TV, you can say no to the drugs, you can say no to yourself, you can say no to the materialism, you can say no to the language, you can say no to whatever it is that you feel like you're enslaved to. Because the truth is, you're not enslaved. You have been set free. You are choosing to stay there. That's not being enslaved. If I choose to stay here, I choose to stay here, I'm being ignorant. Why would you stay there? Oh, that's okay, because I'm going to pray today, and Jesus is going to fly in, and He's going to make it all better. There are churches that will teach you that. I can't find that Jesus in the Bible. If you can find that Jesus in the Bible, you should capture Him, you should put Him in a box, and you should sell Him, because you make a lot of money. Because there is no Jesus like that. Jesus doesn't operate like that. God doesn't operate like that. And that's because God has done His part for our spiritual condition. He expects us to be responsible and deal with our physical condition. Otherwise, we're just puppets on a string. That is hard. Because so many of us were raised this way. If I'll just pray long enough about it, if I'll fast, if I'll just do that, I'm here to tell you, you at some point and I have to assume responsibility for our own condition. Lastly, we have to decide and execute a life change. You can't just decide. It doesn't do any good to go out and buy the South Beach book diet and then put it on the counter. It's not going to change your life. Okay? You have to do what it says. It doesn't do any good to join the finances class. It doesn't do any good to go to a marriage counselor. It doesn't do any good to do any of those things if you're not going to do what they say. At least try. God gives us a brain. And when we come to Him, we talked about this last week, you don't turn your brain off just because all of a sudden you're a Christian. In fact, it's more than that. Your brain should turn on because now you should have more insight into what's going on all around you. And so God can give us the ability to not only to make a plan, but to get people to help us, but to execute some kind of life change. Otherwise, we stay stuck in our spot. And so what I'm asking today is really simple. What are you stuck in? What are you stuck in? Because you've been set free. You've been set free, so why stay? Why stay? I'm going to close with this story. Many of you heard of a magician, illusionist from way back when named Houdini, Harry Houdini. Did some amazing things. They'd handcuff him, throw him in the ocean of water, and he'd get out. There was one time where he failed to get out in the allotted amount of time. And they put him in a jail cell. And they gave him so much time to work his way out. And he came and he tried to pick the lock, and couldn't get out, and he tried all his different gizmos and gadgets and couldn't get out. And the door was unlocked the whole time. And he never tried to open the door. The door's unlocked. Why stay in jail? That doesn't make sense. So here's what I'm asking. What's got you boxed in? Maybe a couple things, maybe 2 or 3 things. Sometimes it's things other people have decided for us. Sometimes it's things that we've decided in the past that have still kind of carrying that yoke, that weight on us. And sometimes it's the stuff we're in now. So what is it? And if you don't want to deal with it anymore, then let's come up with a plan. Let's get you out of it. Because the mission of Friends isn't just to tell you what to do. The mission of Friends, as I remember, it's teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, were the words of Jesus. And so we want to help you obey not just so your life will change, but that through you, the culture, the community starts to change. Starts in your home, starts in your neighborhood, wherever you're